Will a red dot sight make your pistol shooting more accurate? We'll talk about that in just a minute, but first, let me remind you we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now, ends really soon, and it's absolutely free. All you need to do is click the link in the description down below to learn which brand new gun you could win. All right, so let's talk about the latest rage in handgunning. Here we have a cleared Mossberg pistol. Notice locked open, no ammunition in the magazine, no magazine in the mag well. Everything is cleared. It is equipped with a micro red dot sight. These are getting very, very popular out there in the concealed carry world. They don't take up a whole lot of space. They're really durable these days. The earlier ones quite didn't last as well as some would expect. And a lot of folks are getting over the idea that, well, what if the red dot sight doesn't work anymore? Well, stop and think for a minute about handgun fighting ranges. You know, it's from me to the camera. We're talking about 6 to 12 feet, most of the handgun engagements. Yes, there can be longer handgun engagements. You heard about it in Indiana, 45 yards. The guy stopped the mall shooter with iron sights and was able to put rounds on target at greater distance. So the question is, will iron sights make my handgun more accurate? And the answer to that is no. The accuracy of your handgun depends on the hands that are wrapped around that handgun and trigger control and things like that. What a red dot sight will do is allow you to acquire your target sometimes faster. Now, when I say sometimes faster, it's because there is a learning curve that goes along with shooting a red dot sight. It is different than shooting plain iron sights on your handgun. Again, cleared Canic pistol here, no ammo. The gun is ready to go, and I'm going to show you the sights. And yes, we'll get calls that I turn the muzzle around toward me, but again, know the status of your weapon. This gun is perfectly safe. The 3-dot sight system that you're typically used to using. You line up the 3 dots, you make sure they're level, you make sure that the front sight is centered between the dots of the rear sight, and then you focus on the front sight and operate the trigger without moving the sights. That's the goal in using iron sights. And that has worked for, almost 200 years now, as sights have continued to improve. And diehard iron sight folks will say, what if your red dot fails? Well, what if your red dot fails? A lot of them now are made to co-witness. Notice that there is a milled out section which sets the red dot sight lower on the slide and allowing you to use your iron sights co-witnessed. So you're looking through the red dot window and you can still see that dot. I'm looking at it right now. That dot is right out there on top of the front sight. Where red dots really shine, pun intended, you saw me do that. Where red dots really shine is folks get to be about my age and you can't really focus well on that front sight without your reading glasses. It's out there at about 2 feet and it's still kind of fuzzy. Ideally, you want that front sight to be in sharp, clear focus against a fuzzy background because your eye can only focus on one focal plane. Well, as we are getting older, our eye lenses do not move as well as they did once before. And when we're looking down the muzzle, looking down the barrel here, that front sight is not in sharp focus. But the red dot is, and it appears to be projected out there on our target. So it does a couple of interesting things that I've learned as I've been shooting these and going through some training courses with red dot sights. It's allowing me to focus on that red dot. That's what I want to focus on and put it right where I want the bullet to go. But at the same time, that red dot appears to be more distant. It's clearer. It's difficult for me to explain without putting it in terms that some people are going to say, oh, that's wrong. I can focus on the target and I can superimpose the dot on the target. And the dot's right there and it's clearly in focus. So if you understand what happens during a high stress incident, you might suffer through some target fixation. Seeing the bad guy, realizing the bad guy is trying to kill you, you have to tell yourself, focus on the front sight, focus on the front sight, focus on the front sight, and put it on that bad guy. With the red dot sight, you're putting that red dot out there and you're seeing the bad guy and the red dot is right up on there. And yep, you can make that shot. So it might make your shooting a little bit more accurate, but all the other elements of good shooting still apply. Good grip, good trigger control, and keeping the sight on the target. As I said, there is a training curve when dealing with a red dot sight. There are a couple things that you need to understand. When you bring the pistol up in front of you and you're using the red dot sight, you want to bring the pistol up and then move your head to find the red dot. Move your head and your eyes to find the dot in there to make sure that it's there. If you move the gun, you'll see it in the window, and there's a term for it. It's called meteor. The red dot will zip across that window like a meteor. Even if you move the gun just a fraction of an inch, that red dot is moving all over the place. So you want to keep your gun steady, and you want to find that dot by moving your head just a little bit, and that seems to make things move a little bit more slowly. While you're doing that, you need the repetitions over and over and over to bring that gun up and find that dot, and bring that gun up and find that dot. Dry fire is going to be very important for you to acquire the red dot in the window and place it on the target. The more you dry fire, just dry draw, you don't even have to pull the trigger. You just have to get that dot on target. And you're going to have to do that a couple hundred, a couple thousand times to make sure that it just becomes automatic. My first thought was, wow, this is going to lead me away from my iron sights, and I'm not going to be able to use my iron sights effectively. And I found it to just be the opposite. As I'm focusing on putting that red dot on the target, that red dot is co-witnessed with my iron sights. My iron sights were right there. The red dot appears, it is a setup on this gun to appear just a fraction of an inch over the top of the front sight. Now, at any combat distance, anything out to 15 or even 30 yards, you're still going to be on what I will describe as minute of bad guy. You're going to be able to hit the target. You're going to be able to make combat effective hits, even if there's a little bit of parallax between where the dot is and where your front sight is bouncing out there in front of you. And yes, it will be bouncing because none of us can hold steady for longer than 2 or 3 seconds. So understand that by practicing with your red dot, you're also putting that gun online with your iron sights. So if the battery dies or the red dot fails or something happens, you're going to be up there and on target. I can't stress enough that training through the use of a red dot is also going to be training for the use of iron sights. So the more repetitions you get, the more proper repetitions you get, the more you're going to be getting that gun on target more quickly. The question came that, is a red dot sight more accurate? No, it's not more accurate than iron sight. It allows you to shoot more accurately more quickly once you train through this, because you're looking at things on kind of a different focal plane out there. So it's a training curve. It is an element that you have to, I don't want to say overcome, but certainly you have to bring your shooting skills up to that level, because it's just a different picture in there. And if you bring up an iron sight gun on target and you move it around a little bit, yeah, the sights are moving a little bit, but we're still keeping it fairly close to what's right out there in the front. If you bring up this red dot sight and you move it around a little bit, that dot, you see exactly how much you're moving the end of that muzzle and how much you're coming off target. So it enhances the changes that you're making in your sight alignment and your sight picture. So you get to see those. It's sort of like looking through a scope. You see just how much you're shaking and how much you're moving. What that will do is help you to smooth things out. And remember, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. As you smooth out your draw and your target acquisition, it will become faster and faster and faster. So a red dot sight can help you get on target and can help you shoot better and more quickly, but it's all going to be the result of your training. Is it required for combat distance shooting? No, I'm not going to say that it's required. It's not going to be the be-all and end-all and the savior of the handgun industry or anything like that. It is just another tool that will help get you on target, and it does help people with older eyes. You're getting that presbyopia. You're making sure that you can't focus on things that are close, so it's harder to focus on the front sight. You're dealing with that. A red dot can help you overcome it, and it will help you put your rounds on target a little bit more quickly. Do you carry with a round in the chamber? Because if you don't, you need to watch this video right next to me, because it's dangerous not to, and I'll explain why. Yes, you should carry with one in the chamber.